Good evening and welcome to our daily devotional reading. I hope you are well. I hope you had a good day and you're ready to rest and be restful. I had a good day, yes, thank you for asking. Let's I shouldn't keep my eyes closed too long. I'm quite tired. I might just fall asleep. If I do, well, I won't post. So that's not going to happen. You're not going to see that. So that's okay. Let's look inward. Open our hearts and our minds. Try to listen to to and for the still, small voice from within you. And try to identify where it comes from. As we listen to Plato. I imagine that the way in which you are led to assume one idea of each kind is as follows. You see a number of great objects, and when you look at them, there seems to you to be one and the same idea or nature in them all. Hence you conceive of greatness as one. Very true, said young Socrates. But the actual Socrates now. And if you go on and allow your mind in like manner to embrace in one view the idea of greatness and of great things which are not the idea, and to compare them, will not another greatness arise, which will appear to be the source of all these? It would seem so. Then another idea of greatness now comes into view over and above absolute greatness, and the individuals which partakes of it, and then another over and above all these, by virtue of which they will be, where they will all be great, and so each idea, instead of being one, will be infinitely multiplied. But may not the ideas, asked Socrates, be thoughts only, and have no proper existence except in our minds, Parmenides? For in that case each idea may still be one, and not experience this infinite multiplication. But may not the ideas be thoughts only, and have no proper existence except in our minds? Parmenides. And can there be individual thoughts which are thoughts of nothing? Impossible, he said. The thought must be of something? Yes. Of something which is or which is not? Of something which is. Must it not be a single something, which the thought recognizes as attaching to all, being a single form or nature? Yes. And will not the something which is apprehended as one and the same in all be an idea? From that again there is no escape. Then, said Parmenides, if you say that everything else participates in the ideas, must you not say either that everything is made up of thoughts, and that all things think, or that they are thoughts but have no thought? The latter view, Parmenides, is no more rational than the previous one. In my opinion, the ideas are, as it were, patterns fixed in nature, and other things are like them, and resemblances of them, What is meant by the participation of other things in the ideas is really assimilation to them. But if, said he, the individual is like the idea, must not the idea also be like the individual, insofar as the individual is a resemblance of the idea? That which is like cannot be conceived of as other than the like of like. Impossible. And when two things are alike, must they not partake of the same idea? They must. And will not that of which the two partake, and which makes them alike, be the idea itself? Certainly. Then the idea cannot be like the individual, or the individual like the idea. For if they are alike, some further idea or likeness will always be coming to light. And if that be like anything else, another, and new ideas will be always arising, if the idea resembles that which partakes of it. Quite true. The theory, then, that other things participate in the ideas of by resemblance has to be given up, and some other mode of participation devised. It would seem so. Do you see then, Socrates, how great is the difficulty of affirming the ideas to be absolute? Yes, indeed. And further, let me say that as yet you only understand a small part of the difficulty which is involved if you make of each thing a single idea, parting it off from the other things. What difficulty, he said. There are many, but the greatest of all is this. If an opponent argues that these ideas, being such as we say they ought to be, must remain unknown, no one can prove to him that he is wrong, unless he who denies their existence be a man of great ability and knowledge, and is willing to follow a long and laborious demonstration. He will remain unconvinced and still insist that they cannot be known. What do you mean, Parmenides? Said Socrates. In the first place, I think, Socrates, that you or any one who maintains the existence of absolute essences would admit that they cannot exist in us. No, said Socrates, for then they would be no longer absolute. True, he said, and therefore when ideas are what they are in relation to one another, their essence is determined by a relation amongst themselves, and has nothing to do with resemblances, or whatever they are to be termed, which are in our sphere, and from which we receive this or that name when we partake of them. And the things which are within our sphere and have the same names with them are likewise only relative to one another, and not to the ideas which have the same names with them, but belong to themselves and not to them. What do you mean? Said Socrates. I may illustrate my meaning in this way, said Parmenides. A master has a slave, Now there is nothing absolute in the relation between them, which is simply a relation of one man to another. But there is also an idea of mastership in the abstract, which is relative to the idea of slavery in the abstract. These natures have nothing to do with us, nor we with them. They are concerned with themselves only, and we with ourselves. Do you see my meaning? Yes, said Socrates, I quite see your meaning. And will not knowledge, I mean absolute knowledge, answer to absolute truth? Certainly. And each kind of absolute knowledge will answer to each kind of absolute being? Yes. But the knowledge which we have will answer to the truth which we have. And again, each kind of knowledge which we have will be a knowledge of each kind of being which we have. Certainly. But the ideas themselves, as you admit, we have not and cannot have. No, we cannot. And the absolute natures or kinds are known severally by the absolute idea of knowledge. Yes. And we have not got the idea of knowledge. No. Then none of the ideas are known to us because we have no share in absolute knowledge. I suppose not. Then the nature of the beautiful in itself and the good in itself and all other ideas which we suppose to exist absolutely are unknown to us. It would seem so. I think that that is a stranger consequence. I think that there is a stranger consequence still. What is it? Would you or would you not say that absolute knowledge, if there is such a thing, must be a far more exact knowledge than our knowledge, and the same of beauty and of the rest? Yes. And if there be such a thing as participation in absolute knowledge, no one is more likely than the gods to have this most exact knowledge. Certainly. But then will God or the gods having absolute knowledge have a knowledge of human things? Why not? Because, Socrates, said Parmenides, we have admitted that the ideas are not valid in relation to human things, nor human things in relation to them. The relation of either are limited to their respective spheres. Yes, that has been admitted. And if God has this perfect authority and perfect knowledge, his authority cannot rule us, nor his knowledge know us, or any human thing, just as our authority does not extend to the gods, nor our knowledge know anything which is divine. So by parity of reason, they, being gods, are not our masters, neither do they know the things of men. Yet surely, said Socrates, to deprive God of knowledge is monstrous. These, Socrates, said Parmenides, are a few, and only a few of the difficulties in which we are involved, if ideas really are, and we determine each one of them to be in absolute unity. He who hears what may be said against them will deny the very existence of them, and even if they do exist, he will say that they must of necessity be unknown to man, and he will seem to have reason on his side, and as we were remarking just now, will be very difficult to convince. A man must be gifted with very considerable ability before he can learn that everything has a class and an absolute essence. And still more remarkable will he be who discovers all these things for him, for himself or herself, and having thoroughly investigated them, is able to teach them to others. I agree with you, Parmenides, said Socrates, and what you say is very much to my mind. And yet, Socrates, said Parmenides, if a man, fixing his attention on these and the like difficulties, does away with ideas of things and will not admit that every individual thing has its own determinate idea, which is always one and the same, he will have nothing on which his mind can rest, and so he will utterly destroy the power of reasoning, as you seem to me to have particularly noted. Very true. Thus far our scripture of the evening. I haven't been able to get to the book on Parmenides, and Zeno is in there as well, so I'll read him too. Yet. So I have no fucking clue what's going on here. Also outside of my home there's some sort of protest or something going on, or party, I don't know. But there's a lot of buses and people. I heard something of the Ding an sich here, the thing in itself. The unknowability of what the essence, the thing in itself really is. I don't know if I'm projecting things in there, which probably I am doing. I also heard something about John speaks often of the relata and the relationship, and that kind of being the stuff that reality is made of, I think. But exactly how and why and what now escapes my mind. The mode of participation I wrote down, and that a new mode of participation will have to be devised. And they speak of patterns, and we as humans are very good at pattern detection. Is he also saying that we can only know from a human perspective? Which, yeah, I'm sure. But as I was reading that, I also recognized the longing that is said to have belonged to Sophia as well, for deeper knowledge, for really knowing. And indeed, it seems like, well, on the one hand, it seems like Parmenides says it cannot be known. On the other, he speaks of a person who is capable of knowing it. I don't know how. If I really should read first before I say this, but if I'm quite sure he claimed that his knowledge, or at least he presented his knowledge as a revelation. I don't know. I read this book today. Didn't get very far. I went skinny dipping in the sea. And alas, I had no vision. Sorry, love. I did write down, when I was reading Plato, a vision I had a long time ago. As someone was speaking of Plato, I saw two spheres, an outer and an inner sphere. And their patterns weren't quite aligned, but they were moving. And when I spoke of this to some of my brothers, because we always tend to want to interpret everything right, he said that, and the idea is that we should align the spheres. And I'm not sure that is the idea, actually. Maybe there are just two gods and there's just supposed to be two gods. Two worlds, and no. That's why I couldn't say that. Maybe the two worlds have always been meant to not mix. And hence we're always supposed to be concerned only with this world. So tonight, I suppose, there's an argument for the naturalist, at least in my mind. Very typical Dutch, very un-Christian. Because it's just too cold still for bathing suits, so I went to the nudist beach, if that makes sense. And that is between 68 and 71. Pole 68 and pole 71. And of course, there's a place you can have drinks and eat, which I did afterwards. It was very exhilarating. I was scared shitless when I was walking in the water, not just because it's so cold. I was completely alone, feeling quite vulnerable. And there were quails, I think, I'm not sure, like jellyfish-ish things, and we're not really supposed to swim when they're in the water. But I have this unfortunate habit, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it, even though it's maybe not always wise to do so. So I did it, and I was scared. I was really scared. I was, yeah. If anyone was close by, they would have heard my fear. Let's just put that way. But then, as soon as because I couldn't, it was low tide, so I couldn't literally just walk in until I was completely covered. So I just fell down in the water. And as soon as I did that, I did it twice and then I went out. I think I'll do this more often though. It was a lot of fun. It was very exhilarating. I felt quite a lot of joy as soon as mostly when I was out, but as soon as I did it as well. And I could have, the thing is, because it was low water, the water went deeper and then it started going shallow again. So I stayed in that deeper part. If I went on, it would have become completely shallow, like dry land, and then I could have gone much deeper. But I was a bit too scared to do that on my own, so I didn't do that. But I think I will do this more often, and then maybe I'll develop that. I think that is the way to develop courage, right? To do things over and over again until you're not afraid of it anymore. But talking of pattern recognition, I read some before I came to the beach, and then as soon as I sat down afterwards, I started reading again, and the first at the place called 69, and the first footnote was number 69, and I thought it was quite a nice one, so I'm going to read the footnote. The Greek term koinonia can be translated communion or participation in passages such as 1 Corinthians 10 verse 16. And then it quotes the verse. And I'm going to read it too because I went there for. I had a cup, the cup of blessings which we bless. Is it not a koinonia in the blood of Christ? The bread which we break, is it not a koinonia in the body of Christ? That's the closest to a revelation I got. I didn't see anything. But I did feel exhilaration, and that's fun. I haven't washed my hair yet, so this is my seawater hair. I have nothing more. I hope you are well, if I haven't said that yet. And I'm wishing you a good night's rest. May the spirit of Sophia be with you.